Should we get that on the audio? Nate's blowing his nose. I wonder if that will peak the audio levels.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Cool. So we're recording sound, we're recording video. Well,
hey, we're back.
Welcome back, everybody. We have sadly lost Landon.
It's close to Christmas when we're filming this, so you know.
We didn't lose Landon. We know exactly where he is.
Yes.
He's just not right here. But he will be next time.
Yeah. We'll get him back.
Last 2 weeks' episodes were with the ogre. So I was doing some traveling. I actually just got back from Europe. I'm severely jet lagged. So if you sense that, it's because you're sensing the Icelandic time that my body still thinks I'm in.
Yeah. And last week was Christmas concert.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not really jet lagged. It's more just lack of sleep in general.
Stage lag.
Yeah, stage lag. It's a thing though, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like not going to bed at your regular time for weeks at a time. That'll.
So if we make any sense today, it will be
a positive thing.
A Christmas miracle. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Yeah, so we're back. This is called the Thundercast. So this is episode, I think 6. I think this is episode 6. If not, it will say a different number at the beginning of this video.
Episode 3.
So the first one that we filmed with Landon made 3 episodes.
Right.
And then me and Johnny did 2.
So we're 6. Okay.
6. Yeah, okay. For a second I panicked and I was like, what's my math?
I thought maybe it was like Star Wars. We'll fill in the first 2.
Yeah, also we're not sharing one mic. We have our own mic, so we could lean back and forward. I could get up.
More
expressive. I can explore the background as much as I want. I don't know the range on this thing. I'm just guessing.
Well, it's designed for a theater, so I think we could go outside.
Great. I'm sure they heard me the whole time.
And be in pretty good shape.
Plus I have my hands in the air, so for the signal.
That is good.
Great. So I feel like last time we talked a lot about archetypes.
We did talk about archetypes.
Comedy archetypes.
Yeah.
I've actually been thinking about it a lot. When I was in Aberdeen, Scotland, I had wet socks that smelled really bad.
Okay.
They were wool socks, so they were like, I can't... these won't dry quickly.
Sure.
So I can show you the video later, but I actually washed them in the sink, put them in the little closet thing, and then took the hairdryer, suspended it in the closet and turned it on and turned the whole thing into like a dryer.
Okay.
And it just struck me. I was like, if anything is like primitive tools, like Landon was talking about, it's this. This is a perfect situation of that. Yeah.
We would call that MacGyvering.
Sure.
Are you familiar with
the show?
MacGyvering, yeah. The idea that all you need is chewing gum and some lint
to blow up anything.
It's very true. We'll post some lint and chewing gum recipes for explosives on the website.
Explosive flavor.
Now, we do need to talk about Thundercast, though. Believe it or not, there is already a Thundercast.
What does it mean?
So the Thundercast, I think it is like a small town college.
Okay.
And it's like their sports guys. They talk about sports every week, and they're like
it's the Thundercast.
Yeah, so it's like
so it is a podcast.
Hometown Thunder.
Dang.
And they do their Thundercast.
What do we do about that? How famous is this college?
We could fight them. That neither of us are fighter archetypes, so we don't know how that'll go. But there's always that option.
We could make primitive tools and then know it all about the tools.
We could do something like that.
You combine the archetypes.
Yeah, what would be the primitive tool? Well, so if we're talking the what is the name of yours? Not the caveman. What did I say it was?
The primitive.
Primitive, yeah. So the primitive...
Which, if anybody's wondering, these are comedic archetypes that Nate taught us in a former episode.
Yeah. So if you want, go back to those episodes. You can catch up.
It was episode 2 and 3.
Yeah, and in that episode is when I promised that I'd be wearing glasses when I came back, so that I could more embrace my know-it-all archetype.
Do they have?
They have no lenses.
I didn't even notice
because lenses don't come across well on the camera. So.
Yeah, totally. That's great. Sorry, I didn't mean to give away your special effects.
Well, no, it's funny because I don't know if you know, but Harry Potter, for all seven movies, 8 movies really, had no lenses except if they needed a reflection.
To reflect something. Wow. That totally makes sense though.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, you can see a few interviews where he shows that there's nothing there.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Those movies.
But the funny thing is it doesn't matter that there's no lenses. I still look like I'm wearing glasses and am
true.
I'm playing the archetype. So
it's true.
What I didn't bring this time was my notepad. So we'll see how know-it-all I can pull off without a computer in front
props.
of me. But yeah, last time we talked about the archetypes. What struck me, and I can't remember if we were talking about it last time on camera or off, but the idea of coming into situations and having to learn how to be human.
Oh. Why did we talk about that? Was it landed in my archetypes that we were talking about?
It may have been. I know. So recently I read a book, because I'm a know-it-all. That's what we do. I read a book that was written by a man who's autistic, and I'll have to look it up later so I can give you guys the link, because it was a fabulous book. It was written by him, and I believe his therapist wrote it together, so that he could have his perspective and she could edit and give her perspective as well. And one of the things he talked about as an autistic person was having to learn how to be human. And I feel like that is consistent with some of what we talked with you guys with your ADHD, where like the neurotypical way something happens is it just happens.
Yes.
But if that is not how it happens for you, you have to learn how to pretend to be neurotypical.
Totally. It's like a language. I talk about that a lot on the TikTok, is like you're learning a foreign language.
Yeah.
And so neurotypical is a language that neurodivergent people have to learn to varying degrees. I mean, ADHD, you have quite a bit more of that language in you already compared to an autistic person. But there's still a lot to learn. And the masking is something that we talked about. That's something that is very common, obviously with all autistic people, but with ADHD people as well. And the masking thing is really interesting because I discovered later, after starting Thunderfeather, it was a long time later that I realized one of the reasons why autistic people are such good actors is because they've been acting their entire lives. With everybody, in school, even at home, with their siblings, with their friends, they've always had this mask to act in ways that they perceive neurotypical people will like, and therefore it made them fantastic actors, natural born actors that I could just trust with pretty much any role, which was amazing. Right.
They've been practicing literally their whole life
this moment. And again, hopefully we are creating more and more of a world where masking isn't something people have to do to just survive, but people understand, the neurotypical people also learn how to speak neurodivergent enough to create space and accessibility for those people. But I think it's beautiful that something that can be a challenge or difficult, we through Thunderfeather have turned into something that is a great strength for these people. And hopefully we can continue to do that as we create these sort of sets and these environments where autistic people are comfortable, so that they can use these incredible acting skills to make more movies. So,
no, it is pretty cool. And it is fascinating to me. I for the purpose of this podcast, am not objecting to being called neurotypical, because it's not, and we've had this conversation, like I've spent my whole life trying to be different, so being called typical in any situation is rough. But it is interesting, because if I were to be on a spectrum, we kind of discovered this with gummy bears last time, I would be more on maybe the OCD, maybe a little more leaning towards the autism spectrum than I would be towards ADHD. And this came to light. So last time we filmed was right around Halloween.
Yes.
Or just after, I
think just after,
And so we went upstairs and we had some gummy bear packets. And so we're like, all right, let's have some gummy bears. So we each and do you want to tell what you did, or do you want me to tell it from?
You should tell it.
Okay,
Yeah.
So I hand them out, and Levi's initial reaction is, well, there's only one way to eat these, and he tears it open. The whole, I mean, it's a small bag, but the whole bag at once, just down his gullet. And I watched him, like, actually felt a little stress inside watching this happen.
It's literally always how I eat gummy
Yeah.
bears. Yeah.
And I said, well, let me show you how I eat them. And I opened the bag and I folded it out so that they were all just right there. And then I moved them into their different colors.
Wow.
Now, granted, I do this for flavor reasons, not color reasons. I like having specific flavors at a time with my gummy bears.
Neurotypical.
And so I moved them all, and I was like, now I know I have this color that I can eat. And I start with the least number of gummy bears because it's the least flavor.
Yeah.
Move my way up to the most number of gummy bears of a color, most flavor.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I forgot about that situation. But I was just experiencing the ratatouille moment of the flavors combining in my
all
mind.
hitting you at once. Yeah, I know. And it is interesting how each of us has those things. So my wife and I, eating food, right? You often have the foods can't touch people.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
What would you call yourself?
I'm heavily food can touch. Like, I don't like mixing all my food on the plate, but if I get a spoonful and part of it is one thing, I can totally do that. I may have been averse to that as a kid, but I think that I had some very picky siblings, so maybe I went to the other side because I thought it was silly to be picky and inconvenient. It's not, if that's you, but I'm not that way. So I'm okay with foods touching.
Yeah. Well, what I thought was interesting, and I noticed a lot of things because of how I contrast with my wife. Right?
Yeah.
But for me, I have no care for food touching, food separation, but what I don't like is food homogenization.
Okay.
So, like, let's say you have a casserole.
Yeah.
And, it has the different layers, and you get a scoop of it. And, like, some people will just kind of mix it together.
Yeah, I don't like
so
that.
that it's all consistent, one flavor. And for me, that is the worst possible thing.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
So I want to have the meatier flavor and the one that has more potato.
Yeah.
And
So if you could divide the casserole out into its selective slices, would you do that? Like the gummy bears?
So
if it was easy or simple?
So no. And it's because with like a casserole where things are all together, the layers become their own flavor.
Yeah.
Right? So sometimes you get all potato.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get basically all meat.
Yeah.
Peas. I am probably in a shepherd's pie right
this
now.
is what
Right?
Yeah.
Right? And you have these distinct things, but ever so often you get that mix that is unique with all of them together.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
and you need that.
This is new food.
Sure. But you don't want every bite to be like that.
Because there is something to be said for the meat.
Yeah.
And I like the potatoes by themselves sometimes. Yeah.
I think there's something too evolutionarily probably about that in that, like, our body really, there's a lot of health advice out there and a lot of nutrition advice out there, and this is not that, but there definitely is something to our body wanting a varied diet, right?
Sure.
Because that's in the wild, that was the best way we were going to get a lot of different vitamins, is that if we ate a lot of different stuff, that's often what also we could find. So it makes sense if you're like, oh, I'm eating meat, I'm also eating potatoes, I'm also eating peas, vegetables, these sorts of things. Our body probably recognizes the differences in that. And not everybody's that way, but I wonder if that also has something to do with it. Because like even the last 2 days, I just bought a giant family-sized lasagna. And I'm like, this is what I'm going to eat for the next 2 days. And I realized like today, I ate as much as I could.
Okay.
As much lasagna as I could, and then I got to the point where I was kind of full, but I still wanted to eat something, just not lasagna. I didn't want anything to do with lasagna. And that's the crazy thing. Lasagna has meat, lasagna has carbs, lasagna has fats, lasagna has vegetables, in the tomato sauce and the onions and stuff. So it has a lot of different types of things.
Yeah.
But like
it's basically an Italian casserole.
It is,
Yeah.
absolutely. But I ate all the lasagna I could, and I wasn't hungry for more lasagna. I just wanted something else besides lasagna. And I caved to the worst possible way to do that. And on the way here, I bought every single item off the Del Taco menu that contains sugar. And I never eat sugar. Like I eat sugar maybe like once every 2 weeks, maybe. But for some reason today, I was just like, maybe getting back from my trip where I kind of ate, when I'm traveling, I eat like one meal a day or like 2 snacks a day, just because I'm constantly stimulated by where I'm going next and what I'm doing, and I'm planning, and I'm not thinking about eating.
Yeah.
So maybe after those 2 weeks of being in Europe, my body was just like, okay, also you're just going to eat tons today. So I filled up on lasagna, and then I had a cookie, like a Biscoff flavored shake, and churros and these cream cheese caramel things. And definitely regretted it, but that's what my body was telling me. So anyway, none of this is dietary advice. Please judge me for my actions. But yeah, anyway, I don't even know what the heck we're talking about, but there's something in there about...
It is interesting something you said, though. When you travel, you only eat once a day.
It's weird because I wouldn't have thought that. Like, usually if I eat once a day when I'm intermittent fasting or something, it's like torture. I have to do incredible things to keep my mind off of it or be active or take caffeine or something. But it was just like the natural rhythm that my body fell into. Even if I was traveling across time zones and everything, it was like every 24 hours, I just had a meal. And it wasn't sustainable. Like my body obviously caught up when I got back. And I need more food and stuff. Right. And I tried to eat nutritiously while I was traveling as much as possible, which is possible to a different extent in different ways. But yeah, it was either like 2 small kind of snacks or street foods a day at the beginning or end, or right in the middle of the day, I'll just have a meal, a good one, and then keep going. And the difference is like, I don't know, I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
It literally didn't even occur to me to try to eat again. It's also sometimes I'll ration even drinking water if I'm getting in a plane ride where I don't want to have to go to the bathroom all the time or something like that. And so I don't know if any of this is healthy or not, but it's just like weird because I just observed for the first time on this trip that's what my body naturally did. Yeah, it was just on its own, kind of just went, okay, once a day, which is something I can't really do.
That was like the moment you got hungry.
Yeah, and that's not something that I can do here. And I don't know if it has to do with that I was constantly moving and traveling and stimulated and everything, dopamine-rich environments of discovering new things and traveling to different countries and meeting new people. And if I was doing that in my day-to-day life, maybe it would be the one meal a day thing.
The same thing.
But even coming back, obviously today's an example. I had 2 giant meals of lasagna and then everything off the menu that had sugar at Del Taco. So and that's what I felt like I was starving when I got to the Del Taco, So that was interesting. And maybe there's some neurodivergent stuff in there. Who knows?
Well, it is interesting because so I do intermittent fasting as well, and have loved it.
Yeah, totally. Me too.
The only hard thing about it is my wife and I do it together.
Sure.
I am a breakfast, late lunch person. She's a lunch, dinner person. Yeah. And so, and for various other reasons, I've just moved to the lunch, dinner schedule for the most part. But when I travel, I cut down my meals as well.
Interesting.
If I can. It's weird. When I travel, if somebody offers me food, there's a part of me that just can't refuse.
Yeah, totally.
Even if it's something I don't want.
Sure, absolutely.
Right? And it's not even that I'm such a nice guy that I'm going to eat things that people are giving me. Because some of the times it's just like there's a buffet for everybody this morning or something. And nobody's going to care whether I'm there or not.
But you have to go.
But there's something about traveling where I'm like, okay, food is there. I'm going to eat it. But I've found that when I move to kind of the one a day, and I don't have any hypoglycemia or any type of issues with blood sugar.
Sure, and that would be different for somebody that's for sure. Yeah.
But when I move to that once a day and always have water with me, it makes a difference. Yeah. That I just feel so much better, especially if I'm on a bus or on a plane or on anything.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I wonder if there's something also evolutionary about that where it's like we're moving, we're nomadic. We can't stop to eat, so often, because we have places to go, maybe we have animals to hunt or other tribes to trade with or something.
Yeah.
And so maybe there's something in there. I don't know. I'm always going back to those theories.
Right, and it is really interesting. One of the ways that early humans, the way anthropologists believe we hunted and what was our main advantage and why we became vertical, was we weren't going to be the biggest animal.
Yeah.
We weren't going to be the fastest animal, but we could walk forever.
Yes, forever.
And so we would find a gazelle.
Uh-huh.
The gazelle could get away from us. And we'd just walk, because it's a plain. We can see where it went.
Yep.
Just keep walking. It would run away. We'd walk.
Run away.
Run away. Eventually, it's exhausted, and we can still go.
Yep. Yeah, totally.
And so it wasn't this lion, men chasing down beasts and wrestling them down. It was literally walking them until they laid down.
I'm more patient than you are. My body can just last longer.
That's
so interesting.
So I could totally see that. Oh, we're moving.
We're tapping into that.
We're moving. Well, we're going to go into our long cycle digestion and, we're just going to keep moving.
Yeah. If there's a dietitian watching this, please help us know in the comments what's going on. But it was just weird because I've done keto, I've done intermittent fasting, I've done vegan, I've done vegetarian, I've done anything you can think of. But for some reason, it was just naturally this weird one meal a day, and I was completely satiated, didn't even think about food. Often like when I am doing a ketogenic diet, because also I kind of lose interest in food. Doesn't have the same control over you when you're not spiking that blood sugar. These are all different things that we've studied that aren't necessarily things for the Thunderfeather channel, but
we are not experts.
Yeah, we're not experts in this at all. But it was weird that I could eat, even if it was junk food or whatever ingredients. And there is also something to be said about the quality of food in Europe versus what's allowed in the U.S. and the additives and preservatives and stuff. Yeah. And so maybe we'll talk about that. But the most interesting thing, we should probably end on this because we're one episode through already. For the whole 2 weeks I was gone from the 29th to the 15th, so the 29th of November to the 15th, I had 0 caffeine.
Oh, okay.
And I am a heavy caffeine user.
Yeah.
Like energy drink a day usually, because it's like how I self-medicate.
Yeah.
For good or for ill. And I just decided I didn't want to do that because what if I crashed, as I am known to do, and like miss a bus or miss a plane? So I just didn't do it at all. And it was great. But now I'm wondering, like, is that something I should keep doing, or is that something that was just for the trip, just like the 1 meal a day thing? So...
Well, and we are kind of coming to a close for this episode, but that's probably something we could talk about next time, because you're not drinking caffeine out of... So there's so many... We'll talk about it next episode.
Sure.
There's so many ways that caffeine is used.
Yeah, actually, we should start with caffeine the next episode because there's a lot of interesting things about it.
And let's start with that. And so next time, we'll talk to you about caffeine and self-medication.
But in conclusion, I think that it can be said, to sum up and give meaning to everything we've said, for sure, the neurodivergent experience or neuroadjacent experience is one of continual and consistent adaptation to different things. Like you're always looking for what works. You're always kind of gathering data to figure out for you personally what does work, because what works for you isn't going to be what works for other people. And there seems to be more variability in those sorts of things among neurodivergent people. So
we'll
see you next time.